All right, the property prequel, be in the know before you buy. I'm really excited. Today's episode, this one's going to be a fun one. I know it for sure. Just chatting off air with the guests got in. Very grateful who we've got in the studio, which I'll reveal in a second. But as always, just want to show appreciation, gratitude for all the support with the show. There's some exciting things actually in the next sort of 4 weeks that's coming with the show. So stay tuned for that. Some cool little changes, bigger impact, bigger value back to the listeners, you guys. So, and appreciate the feedback from last episode with the tips, all the best tips from the last financial year. So if you're a home buyer or looking to get into the market, I revealed my top tips, not only working with some of the best buyers, but my own personal buying journey too from last financial year. So give that one a listen. I think I revealed the 9 best tips. So give that one a listen. Let me know your thoughts. So today we've got the wonderful Kimberley Gallagher from the Feng Shui Flow in the building. I'm pumped for this one because we are going to dive deep on a topic I really love and like energy and homes. I get through so many homes. I'll reveal some of the things I hear from buyers working with so many, but I want to hear it from an expert. So Kimberley Gallagher, the Feng Shui Flow, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
First of all, obviously from the UK by the sounds of it.
Did I give that away? Yes, we moved to the Gold Coast just over a year ago now.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's flown by.
Yeah, so
it's still
haven't
very
been here that
fresh.
long.
Yeah, still learning the juicy ways, but I think I'm grabbing hold of it. And just, we moved here for a lifestyle change and we are absolutely loving it.
That's awesome to hear. I always ask people, like we've worked with a lot of people from UK actually, not only expats, but actual people from UK, born and bred. They're just, a lot of it is lifestyle, isn't it?
Yes.
Like it seems like a place, amazing cities and what, but I was just blown away. Some of our client calls, we'd be chatting to them. And it was always dark when we'd chat on Zoom. It was just always like gloomy.
Always gloomy. It makes you feel gloomy.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think people moving here are much happier. And I joke with people and I say, look, I've heard one person beep their horn since I've moved here, which, I just think people are so chilled. The weather makes a huge difference and people are happy. And I think people do move here because of lifestyle. And also people have got really cool stories about moving here because I find that because there isn't necessarily a CBD, that people's jobs, everyone has a really eclectic mix of what they do. And it's so interesting to meet new people. So I've loved being here.
I love that. So overall, haven't regretted the move to the Gold Coast?
No, not that I'll tell that openly to
my
family back in the UK,
Love that. So look, Kim, you've been featured on all the morning shows. Your Feng Shui Flow method has been, world renowned. How does one get into Feng Shui or Feng Shui? What is the...
So my accent, I say Feng Shui, but really is Feng Shui.
Feng Shui, yeah.
And I wasn't always into it. I used to work in human resources for an investment bank in London. Then I taught for 10 years. This is me giving now my age away when she sort of add all of the age, all of the times up. But I was made redundant in lockdown from my teaching role. And I was a bit stuck. I was at home with my daughter, my dog. My husband works in construction. So that was one of the only industries that carried on. And I started listening to podcasts. I was very aware of the information that I was taking in at the time. I wanted to make sure that I was in charge of it and I wanted to stay as positive as possible. So podcasts were definitely my sort of way forwards. And I just so happened to stumble across a podcast that was talking about Feng Shui. And it was how the host could meet a partner by making some changes in her home. And I just thought, what a load of rubbish.
Wow.
How on earth is that going to help you meet a partner? And the host did meet somebody, not the right person, but she did meet somebody. And I thought, okay, look, our home feels pretty stressful at the minute. We've got homeschooling. I'm trying to find work. I just want my home to be really calm. So I obviously went to Google and found everything out that I could. And I was actually quite blown away and also a bit annoyed at how many people knew about it, but I didn't. But it was the level of people that know about it. So the hotels, the airports, Singapore airport, That is Feng Shui to the nines. I was
Yes.
a couple of months ago and they've renovated it all, and there's water fountains because water's beautiful and cleansing. Like, it's all really well thought out. And, shopping centres as well. And then you've got this real cream of celebrities and businessmen and women who also have their homes feng shuied, and they live by some of the principles, from the Beckhams to Oprah Winfrey to, just Google it and you'll see that it comes up. And I thought, well, why the bloody hell do they know about it and I don't? So I was like, right, let's do it. And I had it's called like an analysis. So they do this deep dive into what's happening into your home. You look at when the house was built, where it sits geographically, the current year, because it's all about the energies that. So it's like astrology and acupuncture for the home, really.
Yeah.
Gets rid of that negative energy, releases any energy blocks and lets the positive energy flow again. And within a month, we got our sense of humour back. We got that love of life back into our home. My daughter's sort of anxiety about, not seeing people or just being online all the time just seemed to fizzle out. That, there's no big bang, and that's why I call my business the Feng Shui Flow, because it is about a flow of energy. It's not like, boom, this changes. And I also had an email from the lady that analysed my home to say she was running her last ever certification course out of the blue, had absolutely no intention of ever being a Feng Shui consultant, but the changes were so mind-blowing that I thought, I have to share this with everybody. And that's how I got into it.
Wow.
Long story, probably.
So it's nearly like any great business, right? It's nearly like the pain turns into purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where you found something, relieved a bit of your pain by the sounds of it, that you're like, I need to help people understand what I just got through. So I love how you said, Kim, the word feeling, because anyone listening, this will add some value, because the outcome I'm hoping to achieve after the next half hour or so, Kim, is to add some value to buyers on Feng Shui when they walk through.
Yeah.
And also for potential sellers or people going through, a lot of listeners are sort of going through renovation projects, flip and sells, things like that. If they can apply some of this, it could potentially exceed values, because at the end of the day, buying property at premium prices is an emotional decision.
Oh, it's
100%.
the most expensive thing that you ever buy in your life. And you spend about maximum half an hour in the place. Probably if you go back twice, maybe half an hour. And you give away your life savings. You may get a mortgage, put yourself into debt for it, sell your soul to buy your dream home. You do all of this, and it's all based on a feeling.
Yes, yes.
And what Feng Shui can do is change the feeling in the home.
Yes.
So if that house may have a history of relationship problems, for example, because I guess the flip and sell, there's a positive element to selling a home, but quite often there's a negative element to selling a home, whether that's through divorce or businesses like wealth. And that home can absorb some of that energy. And some homes are predisposed to having edgy energy that causes arguments between spouses. And so my job is to, and I work with a lot of people that are selling their homes, to make it feel nice again. And so that when people walk through the door, they go, oh, I don't know why, but this just feels lovely.
Yeah.
But also for buyers, because they may go into a house, and I'm working with somebody at the minute, the past 2 people have got divorced, and she was like, I am not risking my marriage. I love the house, but it's just a bit too coincidental that there's been 2 divorces. So let's work to clear that.
Well, it's, as you said, the word feeling, why I love it so much. We work, obviously, as a buyer's agency here on the Gold Coast. We work with a lot of buyers. And I kid you not, one of the most common objections towards a property is, Matt, team, it just didn't it was a feeling.
Yeah.
Which is really solidifying for me, the reason we're chatting, because I believe in it so much, not only for myself. Like, I've always been kind of into my aesthetics and house and feeling, because at the end of the day, if your house life or home life, you're not in a good energy or space, like how can you add that value to the world with high energy, right? So I just see it so much that buyers could have we've nailed the brief to the T, but it's just, I don't know, maybe an energy thing. And people going through that flip and sell, like I was just on the phone this morning to one of our past clients who wanted some opinion on the floor plan he's designing and things like that. I think for someone like him and his partner, it could be really beneficial to, start thinking about energy, because I said to him, it's an emotional thing. If you're wanting premium price, it's got to tap into the emotions of buyers. So what would be your definition or I guess mindset with, if you're looking at a house, what are some key things that straight away you see people maybe getting wrong with energy?
So if I just explain how the energy moves through the home, and then you can visualize what may help that or
that'd be amazing.
make it worse. So the good energy enters the home through almost like the face of the house. So if you're on the water, where does the light come in? Well, the light comes in through the water. So that would be the front of your home from a Feng Shui point of view. So all homes on the water, the front will be actually the bit that looks over the water rather than the roadside. Same with an apartment. That good energy is coming in from where the light shines in.
Yeah. So on the Gold Coast, it'd be from the east, essentially. That's why the northeast is so popular here on the Gold Coast.
Well, just wherever you are looking out onto the water.
Getcha.
So the good energy is coming in through that way.
Yeah.
And the negative energy will then be leaving through the opposite door. So what you want to do is keep in that energy for as long as possible in your space. And what often happens in homes is that there's a direct line between the entrance of your front door and then looking out to the view. And you want that as, when you're designing a home, you want people to go and go, wow,
as soon as the door opens, bang.
But then what can happen is that energy then doesn't have the ability to dissipate into the other rooms, because they're almost like these forgotten rooms off the side. So then they can feel a lot colder. So, and a lot of it is common sense. So having curved edges around in hallways, it means that energy can then just sweep around and flow, and it slows it down. So if you think, energy in a straight line travels really, really quickly, like a car, straight road, you can go quick. As soon as there's a bend, you slow down. And it's the same with energy around your home. So you want it to go around these curves rather than around these really sharp edges in your home. And that's why aesthetically it looks beautiful. But when you're in there, it also feels nice, because say the kitchen's to the side and you have that lovely curved edge, you're going to feel that good energy coming round in the kitchen. And so it's just being aware of that. And the same with upstairs. So say you've got a 2-story, what you don't want to have, try and avoid. I'm really careful, because I think a lot of Feng Shui books, they do this, don't do that. You're going to be cursed if if the kitchen's above here.
More
then
just be mindful of,
So if you were starting from scratch, there's some amazing things to do. And I would avoid having your stairs in front of the front door, because then what's going to happen is the energy is going to come down the stairs and then it shoots straight out of the front door. So it's about how can you then maybe curve the stairs at the bottom so then it just feels a bit softer. So when you walk through that front door, you're not met with this really angular, sharp edges pointing at you. And so it's all about how the energy is pointing around the home, using very soft colours. I know the homes here are very coastal, very beautiful with those colours. And the other things that you probably wouldn't know as you walked in, but as a homeowner, if I was designing one, I'd be really protective about the central area of the home, because in Feng Shui, we divide the home into 9 different areas. And each of those areas represents an area of our life. And so, for example, the
just
south,
like the central area. And I've heard this. This is good. Do you want to go through the 9 areas, if that's all right?
So the central area is your health. And it's also the hub of the home, like the heart of the home. So
where people spend the most time as well, generally.
It can be. But it's where this lovely energy is hugged by all of the other areas. But it's not just your physical health, it's your mental health as well. And your self-acceptance, so anxiety and all things like that. All of that lives in the central area. Now, what often happens in the central area is you may have a kitchen in the central area, and the kitchen is a naturally very fiery space, not necessarily because of colours, but you've got the stove, the oven, the kettle, the toaster, the coffee machine. You've got all of this electricity buzzing, which can just change the energy slightly in there. And the other thing to avoid, if you can, in the central area, things like bathrooms, because bathrooms are a waste room. And so the energy is being sucked out of the home in that area. And because it's probably the most protective area that I am in a home, that, you know, your health, without your health, you don't have anything. And so having bathrooms in that area could be quite draining on that energy. So they would just be some little things to think about when you're designing a home. And then you can, if you want to, you could plot all of the different areas. So the ideal place for a bedroom, maybe like the southwest, because that looks after love and marriage. The southeast is wealth and abundance. The north is your career and business, so maybe having offices in the north of the home. So there's so many different levels that you can go on. You know, it's a bit like if you're working on your self-confidence, you know, you could start with the outer stuff, like your hair, you know, me, hair, nails, makeup, you know, clothes that I'm wearing, but actually my confidence comes from within. And it's the same in a home. You can do this aesthetic stuff and it works to an extent, but there still could just be that underlying energy. And that's what Feng Shui really goes in and tackles.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And one thing I'm noticing as well with some of the best developers, you're right, like I heard you say, like hotels, and they're onto it, eh?
Yeah.
Like they are onto it. I've been to a few webinars and conferences and, you know, spoken eye to eye with some of the best developers in the country, and their attention to things like this, like flow and energy, that's why it's always been in my mind. It's like, well, if they're the best in the game, they're some of the wealthiest people in the real estate world, and they're taking this stuff serious, it's got to be legit thing, right? And again, the feedback we always get is that whole energy word. It's definitely there. So what I'm hearing is, Kimberley, there is ways to manufacture and change energy. Because one thing I'd like to ask you is, what about with renovations where there's an existing, I guess, dwelling and you're not doing like a knockdown rebuild from the start? I want to try and add some value to those people where existing home, maybe they've purchased it from maybe bad energy. What are some key ways you feel you could tap into the methods of Feng Shui to improve an existing dwelling?
Lots of different ways. Would they be living there at the time?
Yeah, well, let's tap on an owner occupier. Family. I mean, this is just from most common we work with. Someone from UK, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, want to come to the Gold Coast for lifestyle. Maybe they had a really tough time during COVID and it's cold. I mean, you know what the weather's like here. So it's like they want to set their grounds on the Gold Coast. And they get into the market. Obviously not their dream home, but they want to make it a home of joy and fulfillment.
I think home renovations are tricky. And we did one in the UK, and we joke and we're like, there's only one in us. Like, we can't do another renovation. Like, it's full on. And because it takes your own energy, it's expensive, but also you're living in a construction site, and that energy itself can be draining just 100%. From seeing all the stuff, but also because it is rocking the foundations of where you are living. And just I guess if you've got, if you shake a bottle of orange juice and water, if you shake it, then it all gets mixed up. It's like if the energy's been dormant for a while, you start shaking those foundations, that energy is just going to start moving around and it will feel different. And sometimes that can make you feel unstable because your actual ground is unstable. It feels very different to how it was. And so what you want to try and do is shut off those areas of where you are building as much as you can, so that you aren't living in that space. And
it's a good tip.
As much as I do use crystals, I'm not a huge, please don't think that I live in like Crystal Castle at Brighton. Like, put it this way, I have a husband that only like 25% believes in what I do. So I can't have a home how I would love it. And actually, if you walked into a home, you'd never know it had been Feng Shui. But I do believe that some crystals, so crystals are there, they absorb energy and they also give out an energy. So they give out a frequency. And that's why a certain crystal will work for this, because it gives out a frequency that benefits your body in this way. And that's how it works. And there's some crystals that are amazing at absorbing negative energy. So things like tourmaline and selenite are amazing at just almost putting a stopper of that energy coming into your house. And I know this sounds really woo, but even something like a wind chime, chimes for years have been used to bat off bad energy. So if you think of old school shops, they used to have a little wind chime above it. And that's just to stop that, to be like, no, that energy can stay in there and I don't want it to come in the house. And I think just, again, thinking about that energy moving around your home, at the end of the day, opening the doors and the windows, letting that energy out from the day, having time for it to settle, and then closing up at nighttime, and even putting in, some makeshift curtains just to shut it off so that you can feel, going into like yin and yang theory. So yang is the beautiful, effervescent, light, bright, but can be quite full on energy. And yin is the dim. And that's how I remember it, like the slow down energy. And so when you think about your home, you want pockets of both. So the kitchen might be yang because it's bright. You go in for your coffee in the morning, you want it to be light. But the living area, you want that to be yin, you want that to be calm, so that at the end of the day, you can just relax. And so what you want to be able to do is at the end of the day of building, to still make it your yin space. And whether that's with lamps to bring down the energy, lamps that are below eye level are meant to represent sunset. So that's a trigger in your head that goes, it's the end of the day. It's, time to relax. And even just sticking up, even like these, what you've got in the studio here, just to absorb some of that energy that's coming off where you're building.
I love that. I'm just thinking about when you're saying all that, like even my house, I'm like, oh yeah, that probably makes sense. I'm a big energy person, but I've never really dived in the Feng Shui. But when I think about it, there's probably some principles you're just subconsciously doing by the feeling. And I think I'm big on like health and circadian rhythm, and I've just taken I want to get my sleep to optimal. Like I just believe sleep is everything. And I'm really big on like the dim light theory and like, so as soon as I get home now, like I'll actually sit in my car. If I still have something work-wise, I'll sit in the car before I enter the room, literally. So that way I put my bag down, and then the energy of the home it's relaxed now. Like it's not switched on kind of stuff. So sometimes I'm in the garage just finishing up before I step foot. But the dim light thing, I think that has been a game changer. And it must be some feng shui. I don't know if you got any addition on this, but even like closing the blinds, like I've got some lamps that are purposely lower. So they're the nighttime lamps. Is that kind of a thing, is it?
You're basically reducing the hormone, the serotonin, like all those hormones in your body to then go, this is now nighttime. And that's what Feng Shui is. It's about the energy in your home. So you're very astute to the energy inside of you. And, I'm talking at something in a few weeks, and I was just trying to work out, how to start it off. And I thought, okay, let's start with what makes us happy. Everyone understands the term happy. We understand how that makes us feel. And it was nutrition, it was sleep, it was exercise, it was all the things we surround ourselves with. But what wasn't on the list was our environment and our home. And for me, it's this glaringly obvious thing. And that's why I'm like, I just want to shout from the rooftops that we just need to be aware and also really precious about it, just like you are. You're not taking your work into your home.
It's a big one,
It's little things like when you come in your front door, put your work bag into, a box. Don't take it into your bedroom. And then you're not going to be able to sleep because then you've got that there. Put your work clothes away, your shoes away, the kids' school bags, like don't have those in their bedroom, because otherwise you never switch off. And sometimes I'll put the uniform out for the next day because so we're super organised and ready, but then your kids can't switch off from the fact that they've just come back from school and now they're planning to go back to school again.
At school,
totally. And it's just about being aware what you bring into your home as well. So like new clothes and new stuff. I just let things just simmer a little bit before I like put them in because I can just feel that they've got this little
Yeah.
energy on them.
I'll tell you what, actually, when you're saying that, something I've noticed, some of the newer homes, that's really cool, is like a really good, like mud room, they call it.
That's what in the UK they're massive.
Yeah.
And then every member of the family has got
Yeah.
a drawer.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that's your
That's the
I was gonna
spot.
swear then that's where you put all of your
Yeah.
rubbish.
Yeah.
And then that's where they do, that's where they do. And then the energy behind it is that it's closed away.
Yes.
So there's
Yep.
no coats hanging up.
Yep.
It's all in there. And they don't have to, you can still have them in the entrance hallway.
Mm.
But again, if you've got shoes and bags and coats out, if you think that the energy is coming in there
Yeah,
or leaving there, it can't get past
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
it's just not as bad as wearing your shoes in the house, but it's a similar theory. You're bringing that energy into your home.
Yeah, the reason it come up, we had a client, family, same thing, looking
Yeah.
for, and they absolutely, there's this house in Burley, I still remember the mudroom. It was so well done where it was to the side coming from the garage, mudroom before
Yes. Yeah,
it was so nice, still the mudroom, but everything like, I could just picture school bags, shoe,
Yes.
just all the stuff. But then it closed off too from the
Yes.
garage and the main living.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even see it. So anyone listening, thinking of floor plans, think of the mudroom. That's actually, well, now
amazing.
Understanding this a bit more, that's probably why
And put
the
a dog
mudroom
wash
is.
in there as well.
Yeah. Good point. Here's one for you. Floor plan versus furniture, the two Fs. Which one do you think has a bigger impact on Feng Shui?
Floor plan.
Floor plan? Yeah.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Love that.
The furniture can change it a little bit,
True.
but so you can polish a floor plan a little bit with adding nice furniture. But if the floor plan doesn't work, and actually I was talking to somebody the other day about this, there was a house and it was enormous. You know, one of the beautiful sprawling homes that you get out here on the Gold Coast. But there wasn't this little hub for the family to come together. And so
it was nearly like too big.
It was too big.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for people to come together as a little community. And that little, you know, when you go into a small room and you feel like we call it a snug in the UK. I don't know if you have them here. Like a snug room is like a little lounge room where you've got the comfy sofa, the rugs, and you just all come together. And you're not all spaced out. So I think, you know, and then you think the theories behind that and go, well, okay, it's great because everybody's got space, but then your relationships are then going to suffer because you're not actually spending time together.
That's a good point.
And big homes are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but there also needs to be these little hubs where you come together. People need space, but not so much space that they then become completely independent.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good one. I've never thought about that. Everyone's always big on obviously the open plan and whatnot.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. Like a snug. I like that.
A snug, yeah, there we go. Mud rooms and snugs.
My clients are going to be like, Matt, your Feng Shui level is looking for the snug. All right, what about this one? You obviously heard of Marie Kondo, the Spark Joy.
Yep.
I've loved that theory. I've got the one in, one out rule at my house. I swear by it. And what it is, anyone listens, it's just like anytime I buy something has to go. So anyone who knows me knows I'm nearly on the other side of too much of declutter. I'm just so declutter, nearly too minimalist, which I love. But where does that play a part? Is that Feng Shui kind of decluttering? I just want to talk on the clutter thing because that's a huge one when presenting a home. Like I cannot with clutter.
No. And once you experience living in a decluttered house, you notice it really quickly.
100%.
And the reason is because like I know it's a pain to deal with and I know stuff cost you money in the first place, or it may have an emotional tie to you that you've had forever. But there's two theories behind why clutter has an energetic impact in your home. And the first one is we're talking about this energy flowing around your home.
Yeah.
The more stuff that's in the way,
kind of
the harder it is. You're going to block
it.
it.
Yeah,
totally.
true.
So, you know, you go into the
That's so
bedroom and
true.
you've got kids' toys everywhere in the lounge and, you know, there's just no flow in it and you've got to let it flow. So even if you want to keep the stuff, then invest in storage solutions to put it away.
Put it away, yeah.
And I'm a bit like you, one in, one out. If you've not used it for a year, do you really need it?
Yeah.
It's gone. And I feel so good for letting that go. And the other thing is that decluttering, that stuff holds an energy. And, you know, for me and some of my clients I've worked with, holding on to those clothes that you wished you fitted into because they, you got into them 10 years ago, and since you've had kids and your body's changed
Yeah.
massively. And so actually every time you go into your wardrobe, you beat yourself up because you're like, oh, there's all my skinny
True.
clothes and I don't
Yeah,
fit into
yeah,
them
yeah.
anymore. When we moved here, we didn't ship anything over. We came with 2 suitcases.
Love that.
And it was amazing.
Just
so
like a
therefore,
fresh, clean start.
and then I love everything that's in my wardrobe. So my wardrobe is, it's not full of expensive items, but it's stuff that I love. It brings me
Yes.
joy and happiness.
Yes.
And so, we have all these pictures around our houses, and then someone goes, oh, I don't like that one because it's got great aunt or great uncle, whatever, and they're just awful. Well, why have you got it in your house?
Yeah.
Like, you've paid a lot of money to be here and you're letting them in by having
True.
their face in your home. Like, just let the energy flow and give yourself permission, if it doesn't bring you joy and happiness, to let it go. And that's with artwork as well. I think, I'm sure IKEA are going to be on to me about this because I keep talking about it all the time. But when IKEA really launched in England, we had access to cheap artwork, really good value artwork very quickly. And so we just filled walls with this artwork, but it didn't mean anything. And I think if you're going to put stuff on the walls in your home, don't just fill it. Don't just clutter your walls. Think about what it is, so that when you come in, we've got lots of pictures of the Italian coastline, because I'm just putting it out there. I want to go around a yacht on the, around the Italian coastline on a yacht. I'm definitely not in a position to do that myself at the moment, but one day it's going to happen. So you use that artwork as aspiration, inspiration,
Love it.
visual affirmation, rather than just because you've had it there for 10 years that you're keeping it.
And just that there's a blank wall. It's just like, I've got to fill this with
take
something,
time, like see what the room needs. See what, when you sit there, do you need something bright? Do you need something, is it a yin room? So do you add something yang, or is it a yang room and you need something yin to bring it down? So just when you move into a space, don't feel pressured to fill it straight away.
So true. I remember we had Darren Palmer on the show once before that, from the block, and he was so big on, all right, here's a space. Just think about what will go in this in terms of furniture size, even like right, you got this huge space and then you put this tiny couch, you just kind of, versus small room, huge furniture, huge painting, and just kind of overwhelming. So I love how you said that there. Just take a second to think. Because again, if you have this mindset of how's the feng shui, you'll probably go into it a lot more. And everything you're saying, here's a reflection game, I think, and I'm just doing it now, but any listeners, think of the nicest homes you've been into this year in your marketplace. A lot of them have exactly what you're saying. They're decluttered, but there's still character. There's a lot of curves. I remember we had Jason Pate on here, and he said curves are in at the moment, that Mediterranean and flowy are in. And then the things you said as well around like artwork and like not over too much. On the clutter stuff, is there any tips for people out there? Because I know some people really struggle with it. Where do you think that comes from in terms of letting go of things?
So first of all, if you feel it's an emotional tie, there are many meditations out there. I've got one on my podcast called the Letting Go Meditation. And it's about just acknowledging that it's okay to let stuff go and not having that guilt of letting it go. I think sometimes, without going too deep about it, but maybe if you come from an upbringing where you didn't have much and therefore having stuff now makes you hold on to it.
Like you have a lack. You have
totally. It's that lack mentality.
Yeah.
And not thinking, well, if I get rid of it, I'm never going to get it again.
True.
It's like, well, if I get rid of it, I can replace it with stuff that's more meaningful and that I need. And so if you want to really simplify decluttering, my sort of one-liner is, if you were going to move house, would you take it with you? And if you'd junk it, then it doesn't deserve to be in your house at the moment. And if you still have trouble with that, bag it, box it, put it in your garage. And if you've not thought about it for a month, like a 2-step stage,
love that.
Then take it.
Yeah, love that. So first step is, if you were to move right now, would this come with you?
Yeah.
If it's a no, we'll box it away. And then if you haven't thought about that in 2 months, just let it go.
Yeah.
Go
and
on.
also it's
Love
a time
that.
thing. Like, it just, you think, oh my gosh, you need to clean a room, it takes forever. So, but just do 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you look at a room and you think, I haven't got time to do this whole thing.
Yeah.
Just start in a corner.
Yeah.
And it will look worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. Legit. And Isn't it just the best feeling ever,
Oh, it's
decluttering?
amazing.
Oh,
It feels like you just stood on the shoreline and letting
It's
the energy of the sea just sort of hit you. Like that's how that calm feeling in your home should feel. You shouldn't feel like you're stood. If you close your eyes and stood against a brick wall, you'd feel that energy against you. If you stood on the
Yes.
beachfront and closed your eyes, you'd feel the breeze of the ocean coming towards you. And that is what clutter is doing. It's that brick wall energy, and it's not letting it flow around your home.
Love that. I love that. Last few questions, Kimberley. This is a one I'm curious on. How does, or what's the most common, I guess, characteristic in people when they're going through their feng shui and people
Yeah.
you work with? Like, what is the main thing they're moving through? Is it like blockages in energy? Is it anxiety? Is it I'm not feeling loved or worth? Like, I don't know. Is there a common one at all?
Definitely. I feel it's a lot of like bickery energy. You know, that energy where you just like at each
Yeah,
other. Like there's no
builds up as well,
yes.
eh?
Yes, it's just a constant underlying energy, and it stops people communicating. It can impact kids,
Yep,
and
100%.
people just shut off from each other. So there's no big, huge argument. It's just that people tend to start
Nearly
living
like a
independent.
subtle resentment, eh?
Yeah, totally. But we've just entered, so in Feng Shui, you have cycles of energy and they're 20 years long. And we've just entered cycle 9. It started in February this year. And a bit like astrology, we have predictions as to what's coming on. And cycle 9 is powered by the fire element. So we use the 5 elements like Chinese medicine.
Yep.
And so the fire element is constantly burning, which means, I don't know if you've found since February, that life feels like it's gone a million miles an hour. Like, how are we in August already? It's a constant burning of energy. So with that can come a bit of burnout. And I think you hit burnout in 2 ways. One, that you're on this train and you can't get off and it's bringing anxiety, or you just hit a brick wall and you have no motivation whatsoever. And so I feel that people are feeling that form of that life is traveling so quick and they don't know how to stop it. And then if that carries on, then that's what brings on, the illness within the body and the stress and everything that brings. So I'm definitely feeling the impact of cycle 9. I'm not being doomsday because there is a beautiful element or beautiful energy associated with fire, and that's that fire can't burn by itself. So it needs all the other elements to burn. So the whole collaboration and networking and making friends in business, it's a very feminine energy. I'm not talking male and female, but the feminine feeling energy.
Yeah.
And so rather than making decisions for the person and and the end goal, decisions are being made for the greater good and to collaborate and to network with different people and not being scared of your competitors. It's like you were saying about the house builders and, people that are really successful doing Feng Shui. It's like, well, how can I learn from them? I'm going to ask them and bring that in. And people are more open to sharing what they know rather than being so sort of closed about it. So just sort of answered your question, sort of not, but just to give an idea of that energy at the moment, that's how people are feeling. But I feel it's important to say there's a nice positive side to that as well.
100%. And I guess you're also bringing light to just awareness of where are you at the moment right now in 2024. You're right, it's already August. And I think these days in the world now, it goes far. Before you know it, you're not achieving what you wanted. You're kind of just moving.
Yes.
Just subconsciously, you're just kind of going through the motions. So hopefully that brings some light. But what I wanted to finish on, Kim, you're obviously very passionate around Feng Shui, and your knowledge has been, I've wrote down some notes here. I'm a big note taker that I'm going to go home. I know which rooms I'm just going to give a little audit to,
It is like doing an inventory.
It is. There's one room in particular. I don't know, something about it. It's the Feng Shui, 100%.
There we go.
How did you turn your passion into paycheck? A lot of people have got passions, but they're not making a living from it. You've taken that leap. What would be your advice to those people?
For me, it was really important that if I was going to do this, I had to do it in a very commercial way, that I had to knock down barriers and walls and beliefs. And so I spent a lot of the time before I launched my business thinking about the brand, and I invested heavily in my brand and my website and the message.
Before
and
you
the values
started?
Before I started. Because when I put my message out into the world, the words that come out of my mouth are still the same. I still look the same. I still do these random, the reels on Instagram and things like that. But when somebody came to my website, I wanted it to feel like they were going to a website that they recognized already. It didn't look witchy.
Getcha.
It didn't look woo. My story is normal. I'm a mum that just wanted a calm home.
Yeah.
Now, I think when you first start a business, for me, I've never ran a business before, and it's very scary to invest in something first before you get the payback from it. And, even my course was $10,000 American dollars. So that was a huge investment. And then to go, right, well, I need to invest more to launch. But having a team around me, a collaboration of team, from my branding team to my digital marketing team, they're actually back in the UK. So we all work all around the world.
Awesome.
That for me has enabled me to turn what could be seen as a little hobby business into something really quite huge, and something that I'm super proud of.
That's awesome. So it nearly sounds like, firstly, it sounds like you nearly had the end in mind. Like, this is what I wanted to represent.
Yeah.
Brand. And, I love Entrepreneur Podcast. And the big thing I take away from any great entrepreneur is the importance they put around brand.
Yes.
And the messaging and stuff like that. Richard Branson, when they asked around Virgin, he simply said one word: it's brand.
Yeah.
Brand is everything. So I love how you said that. So it's nearly add value to listeners. It's having that end in mind. What is the brand you want to represent? What's the messaging? And then sounds like you just had really good people. You weren't afraid. Again, you've used that word before, collaboration.
Yeah.
Find good people in their areas and things
And I
like that.
also think as well, to not let yourself get in the way. And imposter syndrome is huge. Like, I am not naturally somebody that's going to jump on social media and do this stuff, because I'm super critical of myself, how I sound, when you look back at things. But I know that I have the ability to help people.
Yes.
And I am just a messenger to do that. And I remember the first time I was on This Morning in the UK, and I sat on the sofa and I was petrified. My mouth was so dry. I wanted a glass of water, but I couldn't pick it up because my hand was shaking so much.
Wow.
I thought, oh no, this is awful.
Yeah.
And I was looking down these huge cameras.
Yeah.
And I just had this thought inside of my head that said, if you want to take this where you want to get, where you want to, you've got to be okay with this.
This is part of the journey, isn't it?
This is part of the journey. You've got to start to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that is huge. And I think especially for female business owners as well, I think there's a lot of money mindset that has to go into it.
Definitely.
And talk about, even talking about money sometimes can feel really sticky. So listen to podcasts that get you used to talking about money and not being ashamed of your prices and what you charge, and just having that end goal. And for me, that's a book that's working with huge brands. I want to work with housing developers. I want everyone in the world to know about Feng Shui, but in a modern way.
Yeah, getcha. I love that. It's really inspiring as well. Just a personal one. I think this is probably a common question just to finish on. It just come to me. What's an easy way, right? Poor energy in a room, in a house. How do we clear? What's an easy way to just clear some energy, you think?
So, if you've had a really crap day, crap weekend, like somebody's come home from work and the energy's a bit off, open all your doors and windows. Literally just let the air flow all the way through. You can use a sage stick if you want to. My husband hates the smell of it. He thinks it smells of damp.
It's a solid smell,
He's like, what are you doing? Can you stop that? So you can use a candle. It's just that physical burning off. Walk around your home with the intention of burning off that negative energy. Hoover the floor, mop the floor, take whatever clothes you've, not saying running around the house naked, but, take off your work clothes, get rid of it, put it away, light a candle, lower the lights, and just let that flow of energy come. Almost see it as like you've got a bad smell in your home. What would you do
Yeah.
to get rid of a bad smell. Well, you'd go through it everywhere. You take the bin out, empty your bins every day. The laundry bins, I've banned laundry bins in our home because I'm like, why would you keep that energy
Yeah.
in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Like, just take it out. So
Yeah.
there's something, even having a bin next to your desk at work. Like, why would you have
True,
stuff that you've thrown away next to where
right
you're
next
trying to be productive?
yours.
So empty all your bins, put all your stuff away, and then just close it all and go, okay, fresh leaf. Let's just now be calm.
I love that. So it's if anyone's listening, if I leave your house and I've got some little sage sticks and whatnot, it means it's not that I don't like you. I'm just clearing the energy.
Just
out.
drop a little 7 Traveling Crystal on the side.
It's funny. I was just even thinking then I'm going to go back to the office and the team's going to be wondering what I'm doing. So some areas in the office just need a clear of energy, right? So, but in all seriousness, Kim, that was super insightful. Like as I said, we were talking off air. I 100% love this sort of stuff because, again, as a male as well, I think bringing light, because a lot of the successful males in this industry forget this side of it too. Like there's, like you said, yin and yang.
Yeah.
The yang side, 100%, it's profitable. You got to do your numbers and things like that. But the yin side is you have to take that into account. And one thing I can finish on is correct me if I'm wrong, I'd say most of your clientele would be female, majority.
99.9%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the one who's making all the decisions? I tell you what, it's not most of the time it's the female. I can tell you that from experience working with a lot of clients. So if you can appeal to that market just as much as the yin, yang side, I think you're onto something there.
Thank you.
And it's showing success in your business too. I think it's definitely something people are more mindful of as well. And holistically, all of this improves one's health as well at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Not just physical, but as you said, mental. So
yeah.
Really appreciate all your advice there. If there's one tip to finish on, Kim, for any home buyers out there for the rest of the year when they're going into a property, more on, I guess, in your field, what could be one actionable takeaway for them, for anyone in the marketplace right now?
I'm often asked this about, I'm going to buy a house. It's facing south, it's facing north. Where's it facing? Go with your gut. When we moved here, I looked around our home. It wasn't even for sale, but I stood in the kitchen and I could visualize myself there. I didn't analyze the home. I didn't know what happened to it beforehand. I went with my gut because I think what was that instant fit, and it goes on that feeling.
Yeah.
If you're aware of what's around you, the energy, if you get a good gut instinct when you meet people, then feel that with the home as well. And the other thing I'd say with home buying is looking at yourself there over the next sort of 5 years. It might suit you now, but just having a look at that floor plan and going, okay, is this going to suit us in a few years' time? Really good advice, actually. Yeah. I'm thinking less and less, just again with working with so many people, the forever homes nearly are, like, I nearly don't believe it. It's kind of like the home for right now, whatever feel, because so right, hey, like things happen in life, things change all the time. And actually, I remember somebody once said to me that in England they bought this house and it was beautiful, it was huge in the countryside. She said, it's our forever home. And it literally brought me out in cold sweats. And I was like, but why would you want to spend your whole life, like, you don't know what's going to change. Like, just if it feels right for now and the next few years, don't think about what might be, because, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Love that. Buy for the right now. Yeah. Gut feeling. That damn female intuition, eh? It's an unfair advantage. I say this to the women in my team. I said, girls, you have got an unfair advantage. There's some intuition thing you guys have just got it better. I think it's about being open to it. Yeah. And as soon as you're open to it, then you just start seeing things just a little bit differently. I agree. Awesome, Kim. Hey, where can people find these courses, by the way? I'm really intrigued. Thank you. So I'm the Feng Shui Flow on most things. So on Instagram, my website, and also on Apple and Spotify. I dabble a bit on TikTok, but I think I'm too old for that. I love it. No, I've seen some of your content too. It's actually super educational for anyone in that space. So really appreciate your time. Go check out Kim, and thanks for listening. Oh, it's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Kim.